Syracuse football gets some tough news on the injury front.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and thank you for making us your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And on today's show, I really wasn't planning on recording today, but we got a mini podcast for you guys because we got some breaking news, but it's not so great news. This is coming from Fran Brown himself, the head coach of Syracuse football. And that is that he said earlier today that starting cornerback Marcellus Barnes is most likely going to be out for the season with an injury. And on this mini podcast, we'll break down what this means for Marcellus Barnes himself in the future, as well as what this means for the team. Some baseline stats for you guys. Marcellus Barnes, he was a true freshman, 4-star recruit heading into the season. He earned a starting cornerback slot in training camp. He obviously impressed there. And I think he had a pretty decent season. He finished with 5 games played. And in those 5 games, he had 10 tackles, 3 passes defended, no interceptions. Let's get to what this means for Marcellus Barnes himself. This is honestly like the worst timing you can possibly have for an injury. And here's why. This announcement came after Marcellus Barnes has played his 5th game of the season. This is important. He's played 5 games. I'm going to tell you why in a second, because according to NCAA rules, you are allowed to play in 4 games before being able to take a redshirt year. What does that mean? A redshirt essentially means that you are in college, but you sit out and you don't lose a year of eligibility, right? So technically, every college football player, and I think any college player in general, gets 5 years they can use. But the catch is that they have to play in 4 or less games. Marcellus Barnes cannot use this year as a redshirt year because he has played in 5 games. That is really, really unfortunate for him, which means next year he'll enter as a true sophomore instead as maybe a redshirt freshman. So a real bummer for Marcellus Barnes. If you're wondering about maybe a medical redshirt, that doesn't apply either because, again, he has played in 5 games, not 4 games. And you get unlimited, I believe you get unlimited medical redshirts, but doesn't apply to Marcellus Barnes. He's played in 5 games, not 4 games, so he doesn't get to take another year of eligibility for this season, unfortunately. So obviously it's tough news for Marcellus Barnes. I wish him nothing but the best in his recovery, obviously, and I hope to have him back next season because the transfer portal is a real thing. I don't have any sources or inside knowledge, but transfer portal is a real thing, and you never know who is going to enter the portal and who's not going to enter the portal. So I hope that Marcellus Barnes comes back, and keep this in mind, that Syracuse has a big-time 4-star safety coming in Demetrius Samuel, right? Demetrius Samuel, a 2-way star coming into Syracuse football. He leads right now the 2025 recruiting class. He's going to be here next year, and you want to continue to build that young core that you have. You have Marcellus Barnes, a 4-star corner who played in games this season, was a starter for you. And then also you got in Demetrius Samuel, who is one of the better players in the 2025 class in general. So hopefully Syracuse can retain Marcellus Barnes. Demetrius Samuel signs with Syracuse, and you got yourself a really nice foundation in the secondary for hopefully years to come. So once again, the breaking news today is that starting corner Marcellus Barnes is most likely out for the season, according to head coach Fran Brown. He said this earlier today to ESPN Syracuse. He's played in 5 games this season, which means he cannot use this year as a redshirt, which is a real bummer for him. Now, let's go over what this means for Syracuse as a team. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash and can be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in free bonus bets if you win that $5 bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, or anything for that matter, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Let's talk about Syracuse football. Obviously, tough news with Marcellus Barnes being ruled out for the season in all likelihood. They are still a 1.5-point underdog at Boston College on Saturday with minus 108 odds to cover. Syracuse's money line is currently at plus 104, so I think that's a better bet to take, unless, of course, Boston College wins by 1 point. Then you're screwed. And obviously, we'd all be really upset if Boston College were to win anyway. Hopefully, Syracuse just comes out on top. Anyway, just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Syracuse football has two options to replace starting corner Marcellus Barnes, so let's go over them right now, okay? The first strategy for Syracuse football is probably the easiest one to execute, and that is simply the next man up mentality, okay? Who is next on the depth chart for Syracuse football? And at least according to the Virginia Tech depth chart, which was released last week, that would be redshirt sophomore Greg Delaine. Greg Delaine, in his career at Syracuse, has been there for 2 seasons, 2023 and 2024. He has only made one career start, which ironically came against Boston College last season. Now this year, Greg Delaine, he hasn't done much. He dealt with injuries in the beginning of the season. So far this year, he's got 1 tackle and 1 pass defended. But that's the simple choice. You could just simply say, who is next on the depth chart? Let's go next man up mentality. That would be redshirt sophomore Greg Delaine. I think I actually will prefer that strategy, but let's go over the second option on how Syracuse can replace Marcellus Barnes, who once again is out for the season, according to head coach Fran Brown. What they could do is have multiple position switches, okay? Bear with me on this one. It's a mouthful, so I'm going to try to speak as slow as possible, but here is what they could do, all right? They could move Devin Grant to a starting outside corner role. Grant has been the star for Syracuse football since the Holy Cross game. Now, I don't mean star like he's a star. I mean, that is actually his position. He is the star on the depth chart. He is the 5th defensive back, hybrid linebacker defensive back for Syracuse football ever since the Holy Cross game. Before the Holy Cross game, Devin Grant was being used as an outside corner for Syracuse football, okay? So it wouldn't necessarily be him learning I'm not asking him to learn an entirely different position here if Syracuse were to go this route, okay? You're not asking any of these players to learn different positions, okay? So Devin Grant would move to starting outside corner. Now, this is a trickle-down effect. Who becomes the starting star? Well, that would be Justin Barron. Justin Barron, that is his formal position anyway. He was all conference last season as the starting star. So you could do that. You could move Justin Barron to star, but he's currently listed as the starting weak side linebacker. So what do? Again, trickle-down effect. Who's going to be the starting weak side linebacker along with Marlo Wax, the starting middle linebacker? Well, that would be, in all likelihood, Derek McDonald, who's currently the backup middle linebacker to Marlo Wax. So you move Derek McDonald to weak side linebacker, you move Justin Barrett from weak side linebacker to star, and you move Devin Grant from star to outside corner. And that, my friends, is how you could replace Marcellus Barnes. That is option 2. okay? But like I said earlier, I think I prefer option one, which is just next man up mentality. Let's go with Greg Delaine and see what he's got, because there's a reason why Syracuse made those position switches. Okay, Justin Barron didn't really look like himself in the first part of the season, but he's looked a lot better as a linebacker. He just has. I don't know how to explain it. He's just looked a lot better. He's making more plays on the field. Devin Grant, I think, has been better as a star rather than an outside corner, in my opinion. So I would prefer to just go with next man up and stick with what's working with Justin Barron and Devin Grant. But those are the two options. And not to leave out Derek McDonald, but you could put him at middle linebacker or weak side linebacker. Doesn't really make a difference much to me. It's more with Justin Barron and Devin Grant maximizing their abilities as good defensive players. Keep them where they're at right now. That's my opinion on this, but feel free to disagree with me. Feel free to agree with me in the comment section below how you think Syracuse football should replace Marcellus Barnes. Once again, he is most likely out for the season, according to head coach Fran Brown. He said that earlier today on ESPN Syracuse. As far as what's coming up on the podcast, well, first and foremost, make sure to check out the podcast from earlier today. It's a full episode. I did it with Locked On Boston College, a crossover episode, if you will. We previewed the Saturday matchup between Syracuse and Boston College, so be sure to check that out. It came out at 10 a.m. this morning. Tonight, we got ACC Squad once again. Most likely, it'll be out at 5 p.m. Eastern, but I don't control when it gets released. So when it is released, I will be sure to send out a message so everyone can go watch it, listen to it, whatever you want, right? Tomorrow, we got Poll Friday. We're going back to basketball for this one. Concern level for Syracuse basketball in general after a narrow win over Lemoyne. So it should be a fascinating Poll Friday for you guys. And then on Saturday, we got a post-game reaction show. Syracuse hopefully beating Boston College, but we'll have it win or lose. How about that? So everyone, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this video, click that like button. If you really liked it, subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications so you know right away when I'm dropping the next podcast. And everyone, take care.